My paddling is failing me, but I'm sure I am with the experts, so we can make it. Let's go. The skylines of Kano are beautiful and hazy. It is the sign of the time. In Kano, vast opportunities exist for all of its over 6 million people to live a happy life. It is far from Sozo. Nobody ever speaks of Kano without quickly trying to remember that it is a business hub, a place where hundreds of thousands of people are finding their life doing business. But then, coming to Kano, you find that many people are complaining that the business that they do is not going on. The life that they learn, which is very vibrant, which is very beautiful, is no longer as vibrant as it used to be. Something strange is happening to business in Kano. Commerce is central to the limitless lifeline that abound in Kano. Yet, in account of no one's fault, commerce, the one vocation Kano is globally identified with, is progressively slipping out of its hands, and thousands of mouths are going hungry. Kano is one large textile market. From across Nigeria and countries in West and Central Africa, people come to Kano to buy textile materials. The business was going on for decades while the city prospers. That is before the invasion of cancer. And do you know what that cancer is?
Dumping of standard and substandard textile material into the country. No control at all.
Kwali market symbolizes the vibrant international textile market that Kano is. It is estimated by the market officials that at least 2 million people arrive the market weekly to do. The sad story is 95% of the items of trade are foreign textiles. The major casualties of the explosion of foreign goods to markets in Kano are local textile manufacturers. There are over 30 textile factories in Kano. More than 20 have gone under. The few that cling to life operate below capacity and under hard conditions.
The working capital is so lean that you cannot continue to produce. That's what contributes to our to escalation of our cost in our production.
Yes.
You have very little working capital, you have to produce, you wait, you have to sell, you cannot employ people now permanently.
When textile companies close shop, a lot of things happen. Textile material that can be produced locally are imported. The fabulous Nigerian textile market of over 170 million people is handed over to foreign companies. Internally, as in the case of Kano, over 800,000 textile workers lost their jobs. Machinery that drive the textile companies waste away. We check with many textile factories in Kano. Many of them look like museum of antiquity. One thing is clear though, the times are hard, but the spirit remains invincible. Adama Garments and Textiles, one of the major textile companies in Kano, was at a period in its life employing over 2,000 workers. Today, it has only 20, and they work on standby basis. When there are orders, and the orders can be a big weight.
Now we have only 24, and we produce only on request. So it's numerous problems.
Is that the problem that is affecting all the textile industries and
all over the federation? Not only Kano, not only my factory, but all over. Even though each one has its peculiar problems, some are worse than others.
It is the same story across all the factories. Topa Textile produces blankets. It still produces them. but involved more with the skeletal production rather than full blast operations. Something in the Nigerian system has seeded blanket production and marketed to foreigners too.
If you compare most things made in Nigeria and the ones that are selling a lot in the market, the one made in Nigeria has better quality. The problem is because of the nature of the society, price becomes is the one justifying deciding factor. So when somebody goes, it's like the African print they make, the Atampa they make here in Nigeria. It's one of the best you can find, on the mid-range level. So, but what happens is it probably costs 2,000 naira to buy it. Somebody goes and bring a very low quality one, maybe just 10% cotton, and brings it, and it fades within 1 year, but he sells it at 500 naira. So you go, with this 2,000, I can buy 4. So my wife will be happier if she gets 4 rather than get one that has quality.
In fairness, the collapse of textile manufacturing in Kano cannot be blamed on the mindless importation of foreign goods alone. The sector was already faced with mortal challenges that were already grinding it to a halt.
Just for you to run this factory, every month or so, you'll get 2 or 3 government agencies that will come to your factory, or will come to inspect this, will come to inspect that, and each one is going to cost you money. Not to mention the local government that comes with the different levies and taxes. The state government itself comes. Then at the end of the year, whether you make profit or not, the federal inland revenue again itself will come.
Multiple taxation apart, power supply played a significant role in challenging the textile companies. It increased cost of production, reduced factory capacity, and frustrates would-be investors. The manufacturers are happy with the power supply under the present Nigerian government though. It is a big improvement on the near blackout they enjoyed all life, so they argued at least.
In Kano today, for the last 16 years, ask anybody, whoever has a record of what we have been having in the last 16 years, nobody had ever had in the last 16 years 6 hours electricity supply for 6 months at a stretch. Nobody. But today, in the last 90 days or more, we are having no less than 12 hours supply of electricity in the whole Kano state. So we only need to mention that electricity supply in Kano has improved by more than 100%.
Non-operational textile manufacturing also mean producers of requisite raw materials are out of work. Most of the textile manufacturers admit cotton production has collapsed. Accessing cotton is difficult. Quality cotton is even more so. The issue of accessing raw materials for production in the textile and garment sector is even more acute with the manufacture of blankets. They need waste products from textile materials to be in production. Truth is, the waste are not there.
So virtually, as a factory now, you don't have the raw materials to do your work?
Well, not to 100%, no. We have to bring in some things. Before, we used to find all our raw materials locally, 100%. We never used to import a single thing. But now,
when is before? Tell me that before.
This before, we're talking what? Just maybe 6 years ago. Six, seven years ago, where we're still getting some local raw material. I think we started importing maybe about 5 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago. That's when we started mixing importation.
So what actually happened?
Well, what happened is the raw material was not on ground, was not available, and most of the companies making polyester have shut down. And because we are getting their byproducts, the waste that they cannot sell to the market. So if they are not producing, then the waste is not there now. Because the waste will be maybe 20, maximum 30% of their production, depending on how efficient the system is.
Okay. Now, does that affect your volume of production as well?
Well, it might not affect our production as such.
No,
but
the volume,
no. What it affects is some sectors of our production. More or less, our spinning section now has grounded to a halt. So what you have to do is find the yarn abroad. Just what we do here now is mostly weaving.
The sum of these production issues allowed many industry watchers to conclude that textile and garment sector is not too attractive to investors in Nigeria.
Well, way out is for us to think about this thing holistically as a country. What do you want to do? If you're really serious that we want to be a manufacturing country, an industrial country, then we have to, give the incentives, motivate people to actually go into that sector.
We took a deliberate tour of some of the textile factories in Kano. Many are factories in name only. No production is going on. Heavy and expensive machines do not work. Rust and cobwebs have assumed control of the machines. More than anything, pitch silence envelops engine rooms where thousands used to work and where machines work for 24 hours a day. If Nigeria's textile manufacturing are closing, especially in Kano, it is definitely not because of quality or not because of competence or because of absence of machinery to do the right thing and right time. Now, this is a spinning machine in one of the companies in Kano. It can produce perfectly well, and in fact, the machine has been fabricated to work 24 hours so that its quality can be maintained, so that output can be gotten at a maximum. But you know something? It has not working even for 1 hour now, but it can still function if you can put it into use. What is happening is that these people do not have patronage to do the spinning work, so that at least the machines can work. So while there is the fear from these people that their machines may develop some problem because they have been not functional on the day, you can also remember that there is no market for their goods, which means that some of the staff that are working in this place will have to go because they cannot be paid.
The reason why there will not be a large investment in the textile sector over the last years is because people do not see any potential in the market. Why do I put in my money when, how long would it take me to buy, when this machinery is cost probably $100,000s, $1 million to buy this machinery. Then if I buy it and come and keep it and it's only producing at 20% capacity or something, then what is the point of the investment? But if you're going to work 100% of your capacity, it's worth it to invest, it's worth it to even go somewhere. Yeah, there are funds available that are cheap through the BOI or something. You can go and get money and buy this machinery and update. You know that the business you're getting will pay back that loan, so you'll not be scared.
Textile industries in Kano did indeed run into bad times, but it is not a lost case. All men in the industry believe that is needed to bring them back to life is in the hands of government.
In a nutshell, is we are asking for, or we are appealing that we have textile development agency or council, whatever. Then we have, as an emergency situation, before the establishment of the agency, we appeal for presidential patronage program. All the ministries should be directed that garments should be sourced or uniforms should be sourced from within Nigeria. Then we now have the formula of sharing textile levy imported after having identified who are the right recognized government-complied importers.
It is true. Optimism is rising in Kano among people in the textile sector. They are particularly excited by the release of funds by the Central Bank to Bank of Industry to support textile manufacturers. Happy indeed they are. But they also insist on government protecting their market and their products from competition.
Mr. President has released money now. As a starting point, 50 billion. But if we buy raw material from the cotton farmers, we process the cotton, we manufacture the fabric, we produce the garment, who will buy? We want the government to show an example so that general public will follow suit. If government will now, Mr. President will agree to set up presidential patronage program so that all public institutions from universities, secondary schools, primary schools will use our uniform, the military, the sports, all of them use Nigerian textiles, blankets, towels, cotton wools in the hospitals, all Nigerians produced product should be patronized under the presidential patronage program. If he gives us money to produce, he needs to also buy from us himself.
It all works like a well-crafted plan to stop the Kano textile industries from flourishing. That is the assumption from industry watchers. People like Malan Sadoki, whose heart bleeds with the conditions he finds the industries today. His story is unique. I'm walking down with my brother, Sadoki D. Mohammed. Sadoki D. Mohammed lives in Kano. But when you talk of textile work in Nigeria today, Sadoki D. Mohammed is a legend. He is one of the 6 people that have been sent to Britain by the then Northern Nigerian government to study something pertaining to textile. He studied and he came back. Around 1961, he came back and started work. He worked then in the then northern Nigeria. Sadoki D. Mohammed is a reservoir of knowledge as far as what happened to textile companies in Nigeria is concerned.
As all indigenization come, then most of the company, government-owned company, they are advised to sell to private organization. So formerly it was 100% owned by the Kano State government, but later on they sold it to private indigenous. Then, you know, in Nigeria we have a lot of problem. What happened? They allowed, what do you call it, smuggled goods or print to come at the cheaper price or something like that. Then the market, whereby I could remember, we started having some problem.
Indigenization and smuggle, according to Sadoki, were the bane of Kano textile manufacturers. Usually, when the textile produce materials, there is an important value addition that finds life for over 1 million people in Kano. It is the dyeing of textile products. People in the dyeing sector buy white textile materials from the Kano industries. Then they add value to it and live a profitable life. When the Kano industries collapse, they buy imported textile material to continue with their lives. The story, however, now is the market for these dyers is itself dying. Again, no thanks to cheap competition of imported dyed materials from China. The Chinese have overtaken the dyed clothes market in Kano too, and over 400,000 people have lost their means of livelihood. Here is a little scenario. It is very difficult to talk about clothes manufacturing in Kano and not talk about dyeing. Dyeing is an age-old tradition in Kano. It has survived for over 500 years. It still does. This is just one aspect of dyeing in Kano. Apart from the dye pit, you know, this is a different one which comes with the modernity. In situations where modern cloth systems were dyed and people are buying because it's a value addition. It is part of value addition in the production of textiles in Kano that many people are patronizing. At least as of 2007, over 32,000 people are directly involved in this kind of business in Kano. Today, that business is dying. No thanks from competition from China and many different parts of the eastern countries. The businesses are dying. The people are getting out of business and the people are crying, whoa, their goods are not being protected. Their market is not being protected and their dye business is going down. So the business they have been doing and their grandparents have been doing for over 500 years is now getting out of their hands. And except something urgent has been done, they will be out of business. There used to be over 100 closed dyeing areas in Kano like this one. Less than 10 survive at the moment. The people that usually lost their means of livelihood are young men, people with the advantage of youth, a combustible population that if allowed to idle away their lives, they can be dangerous to the society.
We were about 32,000 that are usually doing this business before.
Now around 19 what?
Around 2000, up to 2007, up to 2008. We are doing this. We were doing this business, but as a result of inventions of Chinese, that's imported red-made galila from Chinese to our market. They flooded that red-made galila into our market. As a result of this southern out of work, business was crippled as a result of that invention.
I tried to follow the sequencing of the dye. One thing is sure, it is manual. The competition from China is industry-based and cheaper. The markets go for the gloss of China to the detriment of a superior local product with a higher price.
We need machines that will enable us to do more work, and then this will help us to compete with these Chinese or Asians that are usually bringing this red-made galila to Nigeria.
Okay. So it is the market. So
And are you not protected? Is the market not protected to support you local dyers?
As I've told you, most of the time, customers, they need something which is cheap in the market. Even if it's not a qualitative one, they want something which is very cheap that they can buy it with small money.
Yakubu Lawal expresses a mortal fear that his generation may be the last to do dyeing business in Kano unless there is an immediate relief. To assess how the competition dumped the spirit of local dyers in Kano, I visited Kwali Market, the international hub of textile business in Kano.
We are in a market situation where the product we see being processed yesterday at the dyeing pit are being sold. Here, this gentleman, Alhaji here, is telling me that most of what we see that was being dyed yesterday is being marketed here. Alhaji, that is true, right? Show me example of those kind of things we have seen you dyeing yesterday. You have them in the market here. Now, this is an example of those textiles that were dyed yesterday. At the finished product, these are them and they are being sold at the market. Now, this is it. But what the people are saying is that despite the quality and the good finish that this product have, competition from China is sending them out of market because the Chinese are dyeing the products and they are not stopping them from producing even the textiles and then bringing them. So competition from China is not allowing them to sell. Now he is showing me another example of from China. Alaji, not China, no. Now this is China. This is Nigeria. Now what is happening is that the product from China is usually cheaper and it comes with a gloss. So many people go for the gloss, but like the people here tell me is that it weighs easily than this one. But then this is more in the market, and because the competition is so much and they are not being protected, they are not being able to sell, and that is the dicey situation these people are in.
The story they tell is that hundreds of local traders have stocked the imported products and are selling cheap and stopping the local products from selling.
China ta riga ta danne mu wallahi mu ba mu isa karfin da zamu competition da ita ba ita take kawo mana farashin da kuma yau ta waye gari.
Apparently, China is finding employment for our people, and we're losing ours. The Chinese started with carrying containers to operate. Now, they retail their products in the market.
I went across various shops and their cry is resonant. Their grievance the same. Their prayer is one, protection. Whatever happens, the importation of substandard products is producing an army of out-of-work youth. Many without advantage of education and skill, but with a desire to live a good life. People like Malam Hassan, who at the peak of the dyed textile market had a car, 2 wives and a house to himself.
Kawo wannan galila kawo mana matsala da gaske. Tunda a da muna daukar dila 100-150. A yanzu da wahala ka samu kwaya 5 ba ko 2 ma. Kake nema kuma muna da nauyi da gaske ba karami ba. Ko a gida. Muna da sama da mutum 10-10. Wanda wannan sana'a ta rike mu.
To yanzu da baka sana'ar me kake yi?
To mun da zuba sana'ar Allah ya domin koma muna dan a taba a gefe da dan ko haka da sauran.
Hassan is out of business now, and the car and the house gone. What remains are his 2 wives and 10 children, and an eye to heaven for miracles to happen.
All persons arriving from China or any